All right, good morning everyone. Okay, well, I'm very pleased to be joined today with the Deputy Premier, Minister Enoch and Minister Bailey, and today I want to talk to Queenslanders about housing. We all understand that housing is a big issue. It's not just a big issue in Queensland, it's not just a big issue in the southeast of our state. It's a big issue across Australia, but it's also an issue across regional Queensland. Last week, my cabinet was up in Thursday Island, where there are housing pressures. I went to Bamaga. There are housing pressures. I went to Cooktown. The mayor took me to a new street that they had opened up with some help from our government through some catalytic infrastructure to open up a housing lot of 18 new blocks of land as their area is expanding. This is a job for everybody, not just one level of government. But as the state government, I'm very pleased that this week I'll be convening a housing roundtable to be followed by a housing summit that I will lead at in October, around the end of October. We want all levels of government to be involved. I'll be extending an invitation, of course, to the LGAQ, a number of mayors. I would like to see a representative from the federal government there as well, and of course local government. This morning I also spoke with the Lord Mayor, Adrian Schrinner. He wants to work with us on this issue. This is about working together. There is nothing more important than having a roof over people's heads. We have a whole lot of factors that are leading into this. During COVID, we saw an extraordinary response where we were able to house our homeless to stop the spread of COVID. Then, of course, we saw some more issues arise, and the Minister immediately released around $17 million to help with those pressures there. We've got a large investment of social housing, around $2 billion. And the Minister is opening more and more social housing every week. But the issue is also across the private sector and our rental market. Our success in dealing with COVID so well as a state, our strong health response has led to a very strong economic recovery. And with that, we have seen mass interstate migration as well. Just this year alone, 50,000 people have moved to Queensland. Now the federal government is increasing our migration supplies as well. So we are going to see a large international migration come into Australia, not just Queensland, and that's also going to add extra pressure as well. So we will be convening this roundtable this Friday. Myself, the Deputy Premier, the Housing Minister, the Public Works Minister, the Brisbane Lord Mayor, the LGAQ, and of course Q Shelter, QCOS, REIQ, Property Council of Australia, Master Builders, Micro Projects, just to name a few. This is a very good first start. I want Queenslanders to understand, I recognise that this is an issue. In a modern economy where we have one of the fastest growth of the economy in the nation, it is a shock to see people living out of their cars or not being housed. But this is a big job, and we are going to start this by bringing everyone together this Friday, and then of course the housing summit. Some of the issues the Deputy Premier will talk about is working with the councils to unlock more land supply as quickly as possible. We're seeing in the outer parts of our state, outer parts of southeast Queensland, there is a huge amount of construction going on in the housing development. But we also have people using their properties for Airbnb. We also have people interstate who might not be renting their properties out. So there's a whole range of factors contributing to this. We also are looking at innovative ways of doing prefabrication as well. There's a company at the moment that is doing prefabrication of smaller housing, and this may be able to be dropped into residential yards as well. So these are all options. Nothing is off the table. and we don't pretend to have all the ideas as well. So look, I'll hand over to the Deputy Premier and then the Housing Minister, and then we're happy to take some questions. Thank you. DP?
Thank you, Premier. Well, since the COVID pandemic, people have been flocking to Queensland. They're coming here to experience the Queensland lifestyle that we all know and love, as well as our booming jobs market. 1,000 people are moving to Queensland each and every week, and they're by and large moving from the southern capitals of Sydney and Melbourne. We have not seen that level of interstate-driven migration, population growth driven by interstate migration in 27 years, and soon we will see international migration start again. Of course, we need that to address our workforce shortages, but they will need homes too. The housing supply and affordability situation has been exacerbated by the floods, which have taken thousands of homes out of our home stock, as well as dragged tradies away that would have been working on constructing new homes, dragged them away to our recovery and resilience program. We expect this population growth to continue for the foreseeable future. Of course, people are looking to Queensland and the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games and all of the opportunities that Queensland has over the next 10 years. So we need both immediate, long-term and medium-term solutions to allow us to maintain that Queensland lifestyle that we love and that's drawing people here. The stories of single mums sleeping in their cars with their children should be a call to action for all elected leaders and industry leaders. We need more affordable homes. Every level of government has a role to play. Of course, traditionally the state government's role has been in the area of public and social housing, as well as delivering the enabling infrastructure like roads and schools and hospitals. The federal government has a significant role to play. There are economy-wide settings that affect housing affordability, things like interest rates, the National Rental Affordability Scheme, the tax settings for investors, and local government needs to ensure that there is sufficient supply, both land supply and development approvals, as well as a diversity of housing options. They need to be approving a diversity of housing options. We can't simply push everyone into greenfield areas in the outer suburbs. We need industry to step up too. I know the economic circumstances, the market circumstances make it hard to progress developments right now, but we need those developments to continue. We need them to continue to apply for development approvals and use their approvals where they have them. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to bring all of those participants together in a roundtable this week in the lead up to a larger summit in October, because I know that when we pull together, when Queenslanders pull together, we can achieve anything, including protecting our fantastic lifestyle by delivering more affordable housing.
Well, thank you, Deputy Premier, and thank you, Premier, for this announcement today. I want to start by acknowledging all of the housing organisations that have been working with the state government over what has been an incredibly challenging time. We know that there are multiple compounding issues that have been impacting social and affordable housing, but more broadly, housing right across the whole spectrum. Whether that be from the flooding events, as the Deputy Premier mentioned, through the mass migration, and of course the COVID impacts on workforce, on of course supply chain issues as well. All of those have played a massive role in the situation that we find ourselves here in Queensland, but also right across Australia. Private rental market right across Australia is under pressure, and we know that from the reports that we're seeing in the media and beyond. And of course, we have been working incredibly hard to ensure that we are building more social homes and affordable homes in Queensland. Since the Palaszczuk government came to office, we have completed, it's finished almost 4,000 new social and affordable homes. And we continue to build on that record. Our $2.9 billion investment from last year's budget has been underway, and already we have started more than 900 social homes in that mix. A very important start. but there is more to be done, and of course we are continuing our work for the immediate issues that we're seeing. Our $40 million Help to Home initiative, one where we are asking people across Queensland that if they have an investment property that's new to market, or if they have a property that they are renting on the short let space with regards to Airbnb, holiday letting, etc., that they offer those properties through our Help to Home initiative, where we will provide guaranteed 2 years rent, 3 months rent in advance, and of course return the property in the same state that it was given to us with regards to the agreement. We're also, just recently, as the Premier indicated, we've recently launched an expression of interest for modern methods of construction, seeking suppliers of prefabricated modular homes to be able to find solutions very quickly. We have recently launched our $14 million Housing Older Women strategy, knowing that women over 55 are the largest growing cohort of people who are at risk of or are experiencing homelessness. And of course recently announcing that specialised housing support hub for older women. We recently announced a $16 million immediate housing support fund, looking to ensure that there is more funding for our homelessness services. And of course extending our rent subsidy scheme from 6 months and $5,000 to 12 months and $10,000. A very important part of being able to deliver solutions in the very short term. But of course this is all against a backdrop of our opportunity to work right across all government agencies and of course industry to ensure that we're finding solutions not just now but into the future, knowing that for the next 10 years Queensland will be the place to live and the place to do business as we head into the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I'm absolutely confident that we can find solutions, not just to the short term, and we're seeing those levers being pulled by my department and other departments across government, but through this roundtable this week, and of course the forum, the summit that the Premier will host herself, there is a great opportunity for all of us to be able to work together to solve this problem as Queenslanders.
Okay, we're happy to take some questions.
Freya, do you think there's been a delay in organising this summit? Some would say, the opposition is saying that it's been a long time coming. What's your response to that?
Look, the Minister has been addressing these issues, but I think what we're seeing now is it's not just a Queensland issue, it's a national issue as well. And I know that because the federal government has increased the migration intake that's going to be coming from overseas, this is also going to be an issue that will be raised at National Cabinet. It's going to put added pressure on what already is a pressure cooker. So, look, I met with my Regional Director of Housing about 6 weeks ago out in my electorate to get myself across the issues that were happening in the regions. We are seeing land getting unlocked. I mean, the Deputy Premier has been very instrumental in helping unlock North Shore, Castledine. There's a new development happening out at Oxley, which was a rundown site of a former high school. There is now development happening there, but the pressures are magnified, I think, because we are seeing so many people move here from other parts of Australia as well. 50,000 pre-COVID, it was 20,000. So that's more than double the number of people that are moving to Queensland, and that number is only going to increase. So whilst we have massive new developments happening out at Springfield, Coomera, up on the northern coast around Caloundra, not everyone will be moving necessarily to those areas. So we have to be innovative, we have to be bold, and this is exactly what this roundtable is about on Friday, to put more options on the table. You've heard some ideas that we've thought of today, but the councils, the LGAQ may have other views. Some of the other agencies will have more views, and they will represent different sectors of our economy. So, like I said, I realised also too last week that these pressures are not just in the southeast, they are happening right across our state.
What will the outcome of the summit be? And can you guarantee that at the end of the summit there'll be a plan and actions that your government
there'll definitely
will
be
have to take
actions. There'll definitely be actions that we'll undertake. And like I said, it's about all working together. And, I had a very good discussion this morning with the Lord Mayor. Happy to help. The LGAQ, happy to help. Happy to look at ways that they can unlock more supply. And like I said to you, a key example I saw firsthand just last week in Cooktown was where the state had provided some money for catalytic infrastructure. They were able to release land for the open market.
Will you look to increase the current investment in catalytic infrastructure from where it's currently?
Well, I think that's something we need to look at. So of course everything's on the table. Yeah.
Would Wellcamp be an option?
Sorry?
Would Wellcamp be an option for temporary housing? Or?
Well, the issue there is not people want to stay close to their communities. Okay, so it's very hard to move families. It's always been put as an option, and also too with the floods. So all options are on the table.
How exactly are you going to fast track social housing when we hear that there are construction pressures and the government says it's moving as fast?
Yeah, and that's a national issue. It's a national issue about the construction pressures that are being felt. Not just the construction pressures, but the price of materials. That's why I think being innovative and looking at some of these prefabricated models that can be done quickly, that provide a roof over people's heads, is something that we should give serious consideration to.
Will you look some of your own forecasts on the number of people? I know the Property Council threw out a figure of about 250,000 people just from Sydney and Melbourne in the next 5 years. So when you add in that international migration, how many people are you looking at needing to house over the next 5 years?
Well, we've just seen, like I've said, pre-COVID was 20,000. We're now having 50,000, and we haven't even hit the end of the year. So there is a lot of interest, and what's happening is people from New South Wales and Victoria in particular are moving here. They're buying the properties that people would have been renting. Then it's forcing families to then find another rental accommodation until they can get into the property market. It is just like I said, another layer on the pressure cooker.
So is there a number you're working towards, or do you know how many people roughly to expect over the next 5 years?
Treasury will be working out those figures based on the stamp duty they would have seen this year. So we do expect more people to come here. I mean, you can't blame them, but we've got to get the settings right. So unlocking more land supply across the state. A lot of people are also moving to regional Queensland, which is fantastic as well. And regional Queensland's a beautiful place to live, work and raise your family. And there's a lot of opportunities in regional Queensland as well. So, we want to work with all levels of government, and the councils are key to unlocking that land supply.
The $1.9 billion spent on social housing and the returns from the $1 billion fund, will you look to increase that spending or bring forward that spending at all?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money there, $1.9 billion. And it's set up for the future as well. So that is a guaranteed investment back into housing. Minister Enoch can give some more details around that. But our Build to Rent program is one key example of doing things a bit differently. And a couple of those projects have been are underway that the Treasurer has announced.
Sorry, will you look to increase that investment though?
Well, let's see about all the other options on the table first.
When did you decide to hold this summit?
Sorry?
What was the tipping point, and when did you actually decide we need to hold this summit?
Look, we've been thinking about it for a while, and I think tackling it in 2 stages is the right way. Looking at having this roundtable first, of getting all the key people in the room, and then, of course, having the summit. And I think we should also, at that summit, hear from people's personal experiences. There's nothing more important than listening to those personal experiences. And, coming from a family, when we're talking about increasing the migration as well, my grandfather came out here as part of a skilled migration, and they were initially housed in a camp at Wacol, which is now affordable housing for families, and until they were able to be placed into housing. So, my grandfather was very, very, always said to me, there's nothing more important than having a roof over a person's head. So I absolutely understand those issues.
Are you prepared to? Not just a talk fest.
There'll be key actions that will come out of it. Yeah.
Are you prepared to champion a policy program or a solution here that ultimately results in a decrease in property values?
Well, The market determines that. I mean,
Is the market the fundamental problem?
Sorry?
Speaking to economist Cameron Murray, for instance, says that the market is the fundamental problem here.
yeah, but I think what you're seeing now, and I'm happy for you to go and have a look at areas out at Springfield and up at Caloundra, where they actually have different ranges of accommodation. So they have smaller, affordable, 1 to 2 bedroom developments. So that might be for a person who's downsizing, for a pensioner, a senior member of the family, or alternatively for a young couple who might just have their first child, who will then move later on to a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom house. So you actually have the developers actually consciously thinking about this as they're building their estates.
Premier, the government's considering setting more ambitious renewable energy targets. How will new projects like the expansion of New Auckland affect the state's ability to meet the targets it already has, let alone more ambitious ones?
We'll be talking more about our energy plan later at the end of this month.
Do you expect the government will approve more thermal coal mines during this term?
Well, it's business as usual. So, we will continue to support the mining industry, but we'll be releasing our energy plan, so people will be very clear about what our energy forecasts are for the future. I'm not going to discuss any more about it until the end of September.
We're hearing reports that the Logies might be moving to Sydney. There's a new deal in place. Have you heard that it could be moving to Sydney?
Look, I've only heard rumours about that. I'll find out more information.
There's a talk also that the New South Wales Premier contacted other premiers trying to convince them all not to try to poach big events. Is that something that you're aware of or that you had knowledge of?
He had a conversation with me about trying not to poach different events and having like a level playing field, and that was just a preliminary discussion. As I said last week, there'll be more discussions about that.
What was your response to that?
Sorry?
What was your response to him when he suggested that?
Well, I think if we can have an agreement, I think it helps everybody and it saves taxpayers money.
And also, there was a stabbing on the Gold Coast yesterday. Was that something that you were quite surprised by, seeing these bikies openly having violence in the streets?
Yeah, that's very disturbing, and there is a current police investigation into that, and I won't comment any further until the outcomes of that police investigation.
Concerning the increase of bikie violence seems to be rising at a pretty dramatic rate. It quietened off a little while.
There are strict laws in. No, that's not correct, Joel. We have our serious organised crime legislation in place, and it's probably some of the strictest in Australia. So, I'll let the police comment on that, especially in relation to that investigation.
New Auckland's about to go on a hiring spree, looking for 600 workers. Are you glad that that's gone ahead, that expansion?
Well, I think it's good that it's gone through the processes, and it's good that that workers have jobs. It's a bit hard to have a roof over your head if you don't have a job. So, I mean, more people getting jobs is a good thing for their families and also for the economy.
So many people lost their job at that mine because of the delay in approvals.
There were court process. Everybody knows there were court processes.
Any plans for another permanent memorial for the Queen? And there's also been some suggestion that this might be a costly exercise for changeover of uniforms and coat of arms and things like that. I appreciate it's early days.
Yeah,
I think some sort of commitment that it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg to go through this process.
Well, I think one step at a time, and understand that. I'd like to thank Queenslanders for the way in which that they have honoured the Queen, and of course we are still in that mourning period with the funeral due on Monday and then the memorial service in Canberra the following Thursday. But the Queen contributed a lot to the Commonwealth. She was a frequent visitor to Queensland, and of course we had the announcement of the new king on Sunday. Last question.
Will elective surgery be postponed due to the public holiday?
My understanding is that elective surgery will not be postponed.
And just quickly, Sydney Star Casino, the inquiries found it and its parent company are not suitable to operate a casino in New South Wales. What's your response to that?
My understanding was that there were some conditions attached to that. There's our current inquiries happening at the moment. I'll wait for the outcome of that inquiry.
Just a trip to the Torres Strait,
yes.
Premier. Is there a date for that next summit, and will you be travelling up there yourself for it?
Well, I do have ministers that go, but I have been to the Torres Strait. I think now that's my 3rd or 4th visit. So initially my ministers will go, but of course I plan to go back there. They've invited me back. So yes, I will be, but it might be next year. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Would you like to come and